This whiskey from Orkney's Scapa Distillery should not exist. Let me tell you why. My name is Matt. This is Whiskey on the West Coast. The Scapa Distillery was founded 140 years ago in 1885, and it's seen its fair share of ups and downs. It survived the Pattison crash at the turn of the 20th century, a fire at the distillery in 1919, the 1980s whiskey lock, and of course a few silent seasons along the way, most recently having been mothballed in 1994. It's a fascinating distillery that once boasted the longest fermentation times in the industry of about 120 to 160 hours, aiming to make an exceptionally fruity whiskey. In 1954, the distillery was sold to the Canadian company Hiram Walker Group, and in 1959, they rebuilt the distillery and installed a Lomond still. Today, a modified version of this Lomond still is still used at the distillery as a wash still, to my knowledge. And I believe it's the last Lomond still that's still being used to produce whiskey in the world. Now, Bruichladdich also has a Lomond still called Ugly Betty that they use to make their botanist gin, but I don't think anyone else is still using a Lomond still to make whiskey. So that's a pretty cool little unique feature to Scapa. It's a really cool distillery that we simply did not see much age-stated whiskey out of in the last few years. We saw the Skirin and the Glance non-age-stated whiskeys, but now we have a brand new age-stated range from the distillery that launched, I believe, in 2024. A 10-year-old, a 16-year-old, and a 21-year-old, if I remember correctly. In my experience over the last few years, the only exception for age-stated releases from Scapa was Gordon Macphail. We did get the Gordon Macphail Distillers Labels series with the very cool looking like Viking ship on the front, as well as their Connoisseur's Choice range. Occasionally we would get Scapas released there. And that's like the Connoisseur's Choice range Gordon Macphail Scapa 2000 24-year-old that I'll be reviewing today. So why did I say this whiskey shouldn't exist? Well, that all has to do with the last time they were mothballed in 1994. The distillery didn't reopen again until after it was purchased in 2004, eventually winding up in the hands of Chivas Brothers and Pernod Ricard. So how do we have a whiskey that's made at Scapa in the year 2000 in the middle of a silent decade? Well, it's all thanks to the hard work of good neighbors. Distillery workers from the nearby Highland Park Distillery were brought in for a few weeks each year to run the distillery in order to keep it in good working order, make sure it didn't fall apart. So the whiskey in this bottle beside me right here is the product of that hard work. So a Scapa made by Highland Park at the Scapa Distillery. That's pretty cool if you ask me. Now, looking at whiskey bays, there's not much Scapa from this vintage, from this year, the year 2000, that exists. I count only 8 casks that have been released by the Scapa Distillery itself as part of their Distillery Reserve collection, and 8 releases from Gordon Macphail, with this being the oldest by far, or so far, I should say, at 24 years old. So this is the Gordon Macphail Scapa 2000 cask 1105 24-year-old Highland or Island single malt Scotch whiskey. This was distilled in the year 2000, bottled on August 22nd, 2024. It's 56.9% ABV. It's non-chill filtered. It's natural color. It comes from a single Refill Sherry Hogshead. And this is one bottle of 172 that exist. I believe this is a Canadian exclusive, available in Alberta. It might even be available in BC. The cost is $340 Canadian, but you can pick it up on sale for around $272 on a really good day. All right, now I will say, before this review, I've let this rest for quite some time. I've also added about 1 full water dropper of water into this, because I really do think this whiskey drinks a lot nicer with the addition of a few drops of water. Right off the hop, festive spices, like almost like Glühwein spices, like mulled wine, orange oil, strawberry, hazelnuts or walnuts. Yeah. Bit of like linseed oil. Oh, some nice antique notes here, like antique furniture. Outside of those citrus notes and those strawberry notes, I'm getting some like fig jam now too. Some like stewed dates. Man, that's a lovely nose. I found the nose a little tight without the additional water. Like you can get a lot of those elements there, but they just seem to be a bit, maybe a little more sharper and high notes instead of the base tones. And I don't know, I just really love this whiskey with the addition of a bit of water. 56.9%, it can take water. All right, moving on to the palate. Stewed fruits, sultanas. I would lean more towards dark chocolate than milk chocolate. Right now, there's like this almost like pipe tobacco and leather note going on. This is like a tobacco pipe on a leather armchair. Oh man. Just like this high note at the beginning. It's like blackberries. Like it's got this like tartness, almost a bit of sourness before going into those stewed fruits. Orange oil is still there. I would say with the oak, it kind of profiles towards like an orange pekoe tea, which 24 years old, I can see that happening. I oftentimes get that with things like Bruichladdich Black Arts, where it goes more towards that note. So that's very cool. I really enjoy that flavor in a whiskey. That's one of my favorites. That leather is there, that antique furniture, those notes are coming through as well. Matt, have you ever tasted antique furniture? No, but it's the concept of like that smell. What would that smell taste like? That's what I'm tasting right now. All those things are listed. Addition of coffee. Strawberries are kicking in now too, and man, there is like something that's bringing a bit of extra sweetness. I'd probably describe it almost as like a tablet, almost like a butterscotch fudge sort of vibe. On the finish, I would say it starts with like antique notes, goes more into like a sweet tobacco, and finishes off with like a nice cooling menthol note, which is really rad. That's a really, really nice finish. This is a fantastic whiskey. I poured this at a tasting as well, the same tasting that I poured the Daffnel 2010 winter batch at, and this knocked it out of the park. This was the favorite of those who attended. I think it got something like, I think it was 14 or 15 first place votes. By far the clear favorite of all 6 whiskeys I poured on that night. And it is by far one of my favorite whiskeys of the year. With a couple drops of water, this whiskey absolutely transforms, in my opinion, into one of the best I've had this year. Yeah. So I don't think I'm even going to take another sip, guys. I'm going to enjoy this after the review's done. But I'm going to give it a score now. Score for the Gordon Macphail Scapa 2000 24-year-old single malt Scotch whiskey. It's going to be a 90 out of 100. It's a big score. If I was giving this a dram-face score, it'd be an 8 out of 10. This is something special. This is absolutely a bottle I'd love to have a backup bottle of. This is killer whiskey. The balance, like the touch of the Refill Sherry Hogshead too. If this was first fill sherry, I feel like it would be too heavy. It might even be too sweet, cloyingly sweet. What am I saying? Gordon Macphail does such a good job with their cask management. Maybe I shouldn't speculate about that. I do love that this was Refill Sherry. I think it just lets this whiskey sing all the more. I'm just over the moon with this. I love this whiskey, and I'm hoping you guys can tell from the way this review has gone. Well, thank you so much for joining me once again, guys, from the West Coast. I hope to see you all back here again soon. Until next time, Slange.